Episode 1, Godmother. For this episode, I want to talk about something that completely changed my life. Becoming a godmother in a way that I never expected. A lot of people hear that I live with my godchild and immediately have questions. The nosy ones, the uncomfortable ones, the super invading ones. So, I'm not going to avoid them. I'm going to walk straight through them. So, let's have this conversation. Her parents are alive. This wasn't a situation where somebody passed away. This was a situation where the state of Arizona decided that I would be her guardian. This episode is about being a godmother, not in the cute ceremonial way, but in the real heavy, life-altering way. And when DCS first got involved, I remembered thinking, oh shit. But I wasn't scared. I had nothing to hide. I was honest, I was cooperative, and I was ready to do whatever needed to be done to keep this child safe. Now, let's talk about her parents, respectfully. When everything happened, I didn't have time to process emotions. One parent was incarcerated, the other one was battling drug addiction, and none of it was about me. None of it was about them. It was all about her. I never saw myself as taking something away from anyone. My goal was always to help them become better parents, and honestly, to this day, it still is. But a child can't wait forever for an adult to grow up and learn from their mistakes. My responsibility is to her, period. I didn't feel anger for a long time, and now years later, there's more sadness, disappointment, but not hatred, because people are human, people struggle, and I can't judge someone's entire existence based on their worst moments and worst mistakes. What I can do is protect a child. I've never spoken negatively about her parents to her ever. I've always told her the truth in a way that helps her heal and keeps her heart sane. And all she has ever asked from me is just to be honest with her. Your mom loves you, your dad loves you, and I love you too. There's enough negativity in the world, and I just refused to add on to that. Boundaries became really important to her, especially respecting the boundaries that she learned to put up. I've always told her, whoever you love, I love. Whoever you want to be around, I'll help make that happen, as long as it is safe. Are her parents involved in her life at all? This one is a little tricky. My godchild does love her parents, that is her mom and her dad, but unfortunately at this time, they're not really involved in her life. I remind her constantly at bedtime, during hard weeks. I tell her that they're proud of her and that they're not mad at her and that she's loved by them forever and ever. And yes, I believe people can love their children and still be unsafe for them. I've watched it happen in real time. When she misses her mom, it's truly heartbreaking for me to watch because there's one parent who she refuses contact with and wants to see her. And then there's another one that she misses every day, but they are not stable enough to be in her life consistently the way that she wishes them to be. That kind of grief in a child is something that I wouldn't wish on anyone. People ask if I feel guilt, like I got to keep her. But to me, it wasn't guilt. It felt more like sadness. Sadness that accountability didn't happen the way that it should have. There are challenges that no one talks about. This changed my life completely, but it was also strengthened by this situation. It affected me emotionally, financially, and mentally, but morally, I knew that this was something I couldn't just walk away from. There were sacrifices that people will never see, relationships that shifted, and comments that hurt more than helped me, but the burnout just wasn't optional. I showed up, I stayed strong, even when I was tired, because walking away wasn't an option. And the hardest part was carrying all of it quietly. I've always been a part of my godchild's life from the moment I found out my best friend was pregnant with her. I never expected things to turn out the way that they did because her coming to live with me permanently was sudden, but it was something that needed to happen. And at the end of the day, I wasn't a stranger to this child. I am her family. I am her Nina. Now, I know you're asking, how did it get to the point where DCS got involved and how did she even end up living with me? So, an incident had occurred where my godchild was harmed. I spoke to her mother. I begged her to let me help so she could get sober and so that her daughter could live the life she deserved because I was done. Enough is enough, and I made it very clear. You can't be my friend. You can't be a daughter or a sister or whatever else you want to be. You have to be a mother first. I had to give her that reality check because everyone around her supported her addiction and I couldn't support that. Her mom signed over to me a power of attorney, and that power of attorney lasted 3 days because DCS was immediately involved. And once DCS is involved, that child belongs to the state. Again, that's not something I knew, but by the time DCS called asking about her whereabouts, because when the incident had happened, the hospital had concerns. The incident that had occurred was on a Wednesday. I knew by a Thursday, and then she was already in my custody by that Friday. When DCS comes in, there's usually an initial caseworker, and then eventually they'll switch to a permanent one who sees the case through to the end. In the beginning, there was also a supervisor there, just watching, listening, observing. They searched my home, turned it upside down, and that's when I truly just felt the severity of it all. They were ready to rehome her and take her out of my custody due to the fact that she wasn't biologically related to me, and they believed that she was an endangered child. DCS will always try to rehome with family first. So I asked them if she would go to family. And they were very honest with me about the fact that no one else would qualify to take in the child. No step parent was available at the time, no grandparents, no aunts, no uncles, no cousins, nobody. And before they place a child with somebody, they will do a background check. That part made me extremely uncomfortable. I had to prove myself, and I did. I stood my ground. I told them that I wasn't a stranger to her. She knows me, and to her, I am her family. Within the time she was with me, mind you, it had just been the weekend. So she was with me by Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and Monday. I had her enrolled in school. I set up a physical appointment for her, and she had her own room in my house. She had clothes. She was comfortable. And I told them to just consider the fact that I was qualified for this. The supervisor decided that the safety plan for them was separating her from those that had endangered her, and I had to be able to follow this plan. I did everything. I got certified to foster. I offered drug tests. I went to every appointment she needed, every CFT. I made visitations work while her parent was incarcerated. Every court date, I was there for it because I just refused to let her leave the home where she finally felt safe. And I refused to let her go and live with strangers that didn't emotionally connect with her. The most defining moment for me was that same Monday. It was her first day of kindergarten. Before we left for school, we had the DCS meeting at our house, and they advised me that she needed to go back to the hospital because they were worried about her injury. Them nor I knew how bad this injury was, but they told me to take her to school and that after school she needed to go straight to the emergency room. I had to take her by myself, and when we got there, we found out that her bandages had never been switched out and she was at risk of losing this finger. For those 3 days that she was with me, she refused to let me see it. I'm not going to go into this incident, but that should show you the severity of what the situation was and how she was told how to handle it. And I was pissed off. Now, we all know hospitals. We were there for so long. She's sleeping in the hospital bed. And in a moment, a nurse comes in with a couple of security workers, and they told me that they had to remove her from me because I wasn't her parent. I immediately told them to back up and not to touch her or take her out of the bed that she was sleeping in. I showed them the power of attorney, even though it wasn't valid, but it was notarized and signed by her birth mom. And in that moment, I thought it was valid. I told them that DCS knew she was with me and that I would stay there all night if I had to, but they had to contact the department because I wasn't leaving the facility without her. For a moment, I thought I was either going to go to jail or I was going to be there all night because things started escalating. They wanted to involve the police. And they had a hard time, reaching the caseworker, given that it was, 9, 10 at night. They had to call supervisors and just go up that chain. And finally, somebody had picked up the phone. They approved and confirmed what I told them, that she was allowed to be with me. And then we quickly got discharged. So they were just holding us for them to figure out that situation. Right before we left, she woke up and told me, "Nina, I want to go home." And as I carried her through the parking lot towards the car, I just remember that she was sleeping again because she was tired. And that was just truly confirmation for me that this was very real. That was the moment I knew that this wasn't a temporary situation. I knew that we were in for it. When she first moved in, she struggled with nightmares, eating, and just normal routines for children. And I had to be fully present for her. So I quit my job to make sure that I could help with this transition. And that's when our bond just really deepened on a more emotional level. I grew into her parent. I had to be trustworthy, reliable, and emotionally present. She had to know that she was safe and loved and can come to me with anything. And in many ways, she taught me that the world was bigger than just me. The hardest part of raising a child who isn't biologically mine, it was gaining 2 more families, hearing how people felt about the situation, and them having their own opinions on the matter. Some people were angry that she was with me because I'm not biologically related. Some wanted me to hand her over like she was just a possession, and that came with uncomfortable conversations. I had a hard time trying to explain to her family members that it was going to be okay as long as certain habits changed, and that really didn't sit right with people that didn't know their actions affected a child. Even when it felt heavy for them, they should have known that it was more difficult for her to go through those processes. The most stressful part was that her mom remained gone for the entirety of the case, and when her father came out of prison, she wanted no contact with him. There is a reason for that, and she has repeatedly stood on her decision, and she's worked hard on herself and therapy, and she started using her voice, and she made her decision on what she wanted. There were accusations, speculation, and claims that I was coaching her, which DCS took very seriously, and they investigated thoroughly. Many times after interviewing her therapist, after doing multiple visits, they confirmed what I already knew, that wasn't true. And that was hard because I know my heart and I could never cause her pain, especially knowing what she was already going through. But at the end of the day, that little girl knows the truth, and she knows I never said anything disrespectful about her parents. There were moments when I thought she would be taken away from me, when her parent wanted her placed with a step-parent instead. DCS didn't agree with that. They told me that it was best for her that she stayed with me, and her therapist agreed 100%. That same parent also claimed they'd never met me before, which was completely false. And in moments like that, you realize really quickly and start noticing the red flags of instability. It took me a while to see it, but DCS saw straight through it the moment that it started happening. I was all for family reunification until I realized that's not what my godchild wanted to do. She was very vocal about that. She wasn't ready for that. And she was in her own journey of just healing herself, of just being a kid and having a childhood. There's no handbook. There's no pause button. You either adapt or you crumble. And I wasn't going to crumble because if I did, those pieces would end up falling on her. I helped her stand tall on her decision. I helped her use her voice. I gave her support. And that's what really mattered at the end. The case ended in 2025. I have full custody. I am 100% responsible for her emotional, mental, and physical well-being. The only right that her parents have is that they are her mom and dad. And when she is ready for more contact with her parents, I would be more than happy to help her mend that relationship that has lost so much time. There is a court order in place, which I send out a monthly email to her parent with updates and a couple of pictures. Again, it's not the easiest thing in the world, but you can't go against court orders. You just got to do it. Growing up, for me, DCS was always painted the villain. And I won't lie, there are cases where the system fails children. That's very real. But being on the other side has changed my perspective. Some caseworkers genuinely care, not just about the child, but about the family stepping in. And I'm grateful for the ones who stood with us and took their time to really watch and learn and make a decision. They investigated, they documented everything. They looked at medical reports, history, things you don't even realize exist. They interviewed many people, and they took drug tests. So when people say DCS is unsafe or DCS is unreliable, the court, they're shit, I get that. But I have to say, sometimes they do know what's best and sometimes they don't. But a thorough investigation is done, whether people want to believe that or not. In this case, I believe that the right decision was made for the child, and they really took into account and respected what the child wanted and the healing that she worked so hard to do while the case was open. How do I explain my role to the world? I really don't explain myself. She's my godchild. I am her parent. She needed help. I stepped in. And that's it. That's what you do when a child needs help. Do I feel pressure being the primary adult in her life? Yes, sometimes, but I'm not giving up on her. Her and we're going to walk this road together, and whatever comes her way, however she wants to deal with it, she'll know that she has me. It's important for her to have an adult who stays, and I'm going to stay. If I had to give advice to someone stepping into this role, I would say it's not easy, but it's definitely worth it. Sometimes you don't owe loyalty to adults, especially when children are being hurt. Protecting a child matters more than protecting feelings. And if my godchild ever hears this episode one day, I want her to know this. I got you. I'm proud of you. You're safe, and nothing that happened to you was ever your fault. You were the perfect daughter and the most beautiful soul on this planet. You're doing the work. You're healing. You've made it. And honestly, you've saved me too. So thank you for hearing me out. This was Conversations with Sarais. Let me know your thoughts on this episode, and thank you for the support. You can stay in touch with me on Instagram at Conversations with Sarais. Thank you. See you on the next one.